Hey, it's Kai, and I felt like reading some UFO sightings/encounters, and I thought that you might enjoy coming along with for the ride. So, I found all of these on the website nuforc.org, and I will have a link to that in the description of my video, so if you guys want to go look for yourselves, you can. You're more than welcome to, help yourself to that. But I thought that we would read some of the more interesting ones that I'm finding as I'm just kind of browsing through. And this first one that I have it occurred at 2300 hours. It was reported on 9/10 of 1999. It was posted on 10/2 of 1999, so about a month later. The location is Northern California coast on the highway of California. Shape cigar. It's very particular. It's like they looked at what they were smoking and they were like, yep, that's the shape. That's the shape right there. Duration was 3 to 5 minutes. Characteristics: there were lights on the object. There was an aura or haze around the object. We were traveling along the coast of California going north. This was about 15 years ago, so I can't remember the town we were near. We had a car and a van filled with a baseball team from Washington State, and we're heading home at 10 o'clock or so at night. It could have been later. I looked out the driver's window and noticed this oblong object that seemed to be keeping pace with our vehicles. At first I thought it was an airplane, but the more I watched it, the more I became convinced it was not an airplane. Suddenly it seemed closer, and as the two vehicles went down a small hill on the highway, all our lights, radio, everything on the van in the front of us and in our car went out. I looked at the object and it looked closer still and looked to be hovering. We pulled over to the side of the road as quickly and as safely as we could, when you have no lights or any guidance, and stopped. My husband got out of the van, and just as he said, "What was that? What is going on?" all the lights came back on in our vehicle and the oblong object had just disappeared. I wouldn't have believed this if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. I must tell you that our cars did not stop running, but everything else did, even the heater we had on. That's terrifying. So it just dropped in, cut all your power, and then decided to bounce? This is 1999. They probably didn't have a new vehicle, so it was probably one of the older models. I wonder if it was running mechanically, so it didn't affect the vehicle because there wasn't electricity inside the vehicle. You know what I mean? It was just all timing belts and stuff. So when it cut out all the lights, it just focused on the electrical. I don't know, fam. That sounds like it's the case, though. This next one occurred at, again, 2300 hours. I think that's just, because they didn't know what time it actually took place, so they just slapped down whatever. Reported 9/3 of 2005, and it was posted on 9/15 of 2005. So it was not that long after, 12 days after this happened, they posted the report. I wonder why they wait, some people wait a month, 2 months to post their report, and it's why are you waiting? Are you waiting to make sure the CIA doesn't show up at your door and is you need to keep quiet or will take your kneecaps and your toes? I'm just curious as to why you're waiting. Anyway, this happened in Desolation Wilderness, California, which do y'all have, Californians, please, do you guys have a city called Desolation Wilderness? Because that sounds like where someone would go if they want to die. That sounds like somewhere that you show up and you're like, hey fam, you got a hole ready for me already? Sweet. I brought my favorite blanket and my pillow. Just bury me alive, because that's the vibe. You know what I mean? Okay, they say the shape was a triangle, which is way different from most UFOs are it's a disc, or it was an egg, or a sphere. Very round. Triangle is very different shape-wise. I wonder if it was a different kind of alien. You know what I mean? I wonder if the aliens each have their own shaped spaceships, so they know who each other are while they're flying. They're oh, that's a disc UFO, so that's obviously Martians from Mars. Hi, we're triangles. We're from Pluto. Nice to meet you. And so that's why they're different shapes, is so they can that's their model of spaceship, and it's IP, intellectual property, right? And they've got it copyrighted, and they can't use each other's shapes. That's my theory, and I'm sticking with it. Anyway, back to the report. It says duration was 2 minutes. Characteristics, there were lights on the object. Which, like, all these objects have lights on them. Like, how else are you going to see them in the dark? That makes sense. Triangle of lights moving slowly through the night sky. I was backpacking with friends in the Desolation Wilderness about an hour outside of Fresno. We were sleeping under the stars and watching satellites. Okay, so Desolation Wilderness is not the town. That is, like, the description of where they were. Outside of Fresno, California, then. What looked like 3 stars moving after 30 secs. I asked my friends if they saw them and they said yes. We looked at it and decided it could not be an airplane because of the massive shape. Near the end of the sighting, the aircraft started to rotate slowly. About 30 seconds later, we thought we might have seen a second object, but we're not sure. And then the website here, NUFORC, has a note. Witness does not indicate the date of the sighting. We wonder whether they may have seen the 3 satellites that are often witnessed, and which are thought to be part of the US Navy NOS satellite system. This is a guess. PD. You know, that would suck. You think you've seen aliens, you're all excited and, like, kind of freaked out, and you got, like, this high, like, the adrenaline. It was just like, oh man, I saw something so cool and otherworldly, and it was totally, like, not normal. And then you get told it was just fucking satellites. I would be devastated. Maybe that's why it's a triangle instead of a sphere, actually, instead of different aliens, like from the different planets. Because, like, why would all the aliens have the same kind of aircraft? But, like, what if that's why? It's because it wasn't aliens at all? It was just, like, the US Navy being fucking weird, like normal. They were out there being like, I can grind walnuts with my teeth, watch! Like, that's how they intimidate the other branches. That's like, what I'm convinced of. I don't know. This third one I have, again, occurred at 2300 hours, and I think that's because, again, they don't know when it happened. Reported 6/25 of 21. Posted 8/16 of 21. So, like, a good 2 months afterwards. Location, Grand Summit, PA. Shape, light. So, light as in the shape looked like it, you could bench press it, or like the shape was a light color? Because if you could bench press it, that'd be fucking sweet. But I don't think that's what you meant. Duration 5 minutes. Characteristics, there were lights on the object left a trail. 4 lights speeding very fast across sky silently. I saw my own UAP, formerly UFO, in the 70s on the farm. My then husband and I saw 4 lights brighter than stars in a perfect square in the night sky. Suddenly they zoomed across the sky overhead without a sound, and so fast they left light streaks in a wavy pattern. No plane goes that fast. It was 4 separate objects as lights. I reported it earlier this year because it has haunted me ever since. It was silent in a very quiet place in rural PA. Man, it was just some aliens having a night out on the town, okay? They were like going through a rural place because they were like, nobody will see us, nobody will bother us, and then like you still were just like, oh hey look, there they go. Like they just minded their own business vibing. Just let them go for a Sunday drive, it's fine. It's fine. See, this is why you should stay inside more. Just stay inside and watch more TV, obviously. Okay, so this fourth one, this last one, I thought that I'd end off with is really, really long, so we're going to end off with that one. Occurred at 2300 hours. Reported 5/31 of 2004. Posted 6/4 of 2004. So only a couple days. Yeah, 31 to 4, that's like 5 days. So they got on this pretty quick. Location, 14 Island Lake, Canada, QC. Shape, fireball. Is this UFOs or is this like meteorites? Duration, 2 to 3 seconds. Characteristics, the object left a trail. Well, yeah, meteorites do that. Is that what you saw? A 2 to 3 second streak of an emerald green laser-like light leaving a long, thin green line of light like a highlighter pen in its wake. Note, sorry, email address not included due to spamming idiots. Yeah, you can't just put your email out there sometimes. Sometimes you just, yeah, unfortunately. To begin with, I apologize for not being able to not only pinpoint the dates of these events with any accuracy, but the years also. I have read your hoax/joke reference and concur with the rationality of its content. Secondly, both my wife and myself are not prone to UFO/alien theories, but likewise we are also old enough, mid-60s, not to be so gullible as to not believe that there are indeed things in this world/universe which do in fact appear to be rather unexplainable. Thirdly, since it is you who has publicly requested reports of UFO sightings via this website, here is what we saw in the first incident sometime in the 80s and what I saw in a second incident in the mid to late 90s. We live on the N/E shoreline of 14 Island Lake in the municipality of Saint Hippolyte, Quebec, 50 miles north of Montreal. House located on hillside 50 feet above water and 75 from water's edge. When facing the lake from our deck, there's a huge 90 to 100 foot pine tree about 30 feet left of the dock. Wait, is this... Yeah, he says feet right there, okay. Most of whose branches extend outward towards the lake and which hides our view down the shoreline to the left. Extending outward across the lake about a fourth mile away beyond that pine tree to the left are two islands in the distance which hide most of the rest of the lake's surface to the south and southwest from our view. Also across the lake about 15 degrees to the left of us, another island with open water to its left and right, which is also visible from our deck as well as the shoreline and rising mountains beyond the shoreline, half-mile away. To our right there are also tall trees, 60 to 70 feet, which partially block our view of the mountains to the west and northwest. Obviously at night up here it can be very dark, and any unusual lights or lighting will immediately attract the eye. In both these incidents, it should first be noted that even in full darkness, the outlines of the trees on our shoreline on the islands and the outline of the distant mountains are clearly visible against the sky. Are always visible, unless of course it would be cloudy/misty. In both cases, the nights were starry and clear. First incident, in the 80s, while standing outside leaning on the railing and facing the lake, talking and having a smoke around 2300 hours. Oh wow, okay, so this one did happen at 2300 hours. Roughly. Suddenly from our left, beyond the branches of the pine tree, an emerald green mini ball of light suddenly shot in an absolute dead straight line across the lake on the near side of the two islands I just previously described as being a fourth mile beyond the pine tree. I would say that the light was traveling downward at maybe 2 to 3 degrees. It then stopped behind the trees on the second island I just described, but it did not reappear over the water to the right of that island. It just disappeared. All this could not have taken more than 2 to 3 seconds. The part I find interesting is that this light was not high up in the sky, but very low over the water. It had to be, because its line of travel was well below the outline of the trees on the two islands to our left. Therefore, logically, if it was below the island tree line, that would have to mean that the light passed between us and the islands, and since it was streaking downwards towards the right, it could have only gone either to the lake at some point behind the other island, or into the shoreline on the far side of the lake. Those latter two locations are out of our line of sight from the deck. My wife and I just looked at each other in silence. We knew what we'd both seen, what I described, but at the time we figured, who the hell's gonna believe that? Come to think of it right now, I'm still trying to figure out why I've even bothered sending this report. Really, the best way I can describe the shape and brightness of the light would be to say it sort of resembled the appearance of Disney's Tinkerbell when she was very far in the distance, just a small, brilliant, laser-like light that seemed to have a hint of a faint halo with no real space between the light and the halo, and with just a bit of shimmering effect to it. One other thing that might be worth mentioning is that the next day there were also reports in Montreal and on the south shore of the St. Lawrence River of people having seen a shooting emerald green light in the sky. So what, did you see like... Fuck, I'm just imagining Kryptonian from like the Superman series, like the glowing green rocks, just shooting through the air, hurtling towards Earth. And I swear if Superman's real, I'm gonna be so excited for one, but also I'm gonna be very concerned because that means that other things might be real, including the really dangerous stuff that I'd rather not play with. Like, if you've read the comics or seen the series at all, you know what I'm talking about. The aliens that keep showing up that are like, I'm gonna destroy the planet because it's what Superman cares about, or whatever. And like, I'd just rather not. Anyway. Second incident, same setting as first incident, only I was alone standing at the front door leading onto the deck about 2300 hours. Suddenly, this time from the right, the same green light streaked across the lake in front of me and just disappeared mid-flight. It sort of winked out, so to speak. The time it appeared to run in a very horizontal plane as it streaked by, and was only visible for 2 to 3 seconds. Again, this light had to have passed directly over the lake because I could see the light against the mountains in the background across the lake, and since the mountains across the lake were about 250 to 300 feet high, I would guess the light must have passed by at 100 to 200 feet above the water. This time the light appeared to be closer to me, maybe a fourth to a third mile away. Note, the lake is only about half a mile wide at this point. So there you have it, our visit from whatever. Name deleted. And the website leaves a note, NUFOC note, dates of both incidents are unknown, PD. So like, is Voldemort standing on top of the mountains just like firing off green lights from his wand? Or is this like I said before, Kryptonite just hurtling towards Earth? And like, it's the same time, 2300 hours on both incidences, like, and why isn't it, why, you're old, why are you up so late at night? Is this why old people need naps, is because they're up late at night, like watching for aliens? Out there on the porch with their binoculars? I'm not making fun of this man, I swear. I'm just really, really confused and curious, and like, these are the first things that come to mind when I'm reading this story, like, there's a lot of things in media that are like green and really bright. Man, maybe Hollywood's been affected by this too. Maybe that's why everything's all like green, like Voldemort's Avada Kedavra spell or whatever, and the Kryptonite and all that. Maybe they saw these glowing green alien things in the sky and were like, that's eerie. We're going to use that for all of our bad things. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider liking and subscribing and checking out my other content. Please check out my other content because this is not all I do. I do lots and lots of different things, but I am especially proud of the fanfiction and original stories that I write. More of that coming onto the channel later, and I will see you in the next video. Kaii out.